the way it's currently, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but the way that it's currently written, they're still not allowed to come. I have a sticker on my door. They're still not allowed to come and knock on my door.
That's right.
So
If you're an Orange resident, you're not allowed to go visit your neighbor?
that's different.
If you're invited,
Not if it's, but if you're just, you want to walk up there.
First.
and they're on the do not knock list, if you don't have a prearranged meeting,
Make a phone call before you,
I mean, let's be honest here. If we're friends and you are just stopping over to see if I'm home, you know, there's not going to be any. There's not a. That's not a problem. You're an invited guest. You've been an invited guest to my house before. We know each other. You're an invited guest. If I'm like, hey, I don't like you anymore, stay off my property, you're not an invited guest anymore. I mean, that's probably a fair interpretation, Steve, no?
well,
Unless you're new to the neighborhood and you want to welcome somebody to the neighborhood.
Solicitor.
It comes down to if you're not an invited guest, but we're friends, you come over, I'm like, hey, like, it's only a problem if I'm like, oh, I'm going to call the police on you. And so it's not, I get what you're saying, but that's not necessarily the practical aspect of it. No.
but it's not promoting Orange as a friendly community to live in.
the rationale behind this was for the outsiders coming in. I know in Orangewood, anytime there's somebody on our street peddling something, everybody's texting, who are these people? People had badges and things that were bogus. They weren't registered with anybody. They're registered with Beechwood. They thought we lived in Beechwood because we're 122 in our neighborhood. So that had nothing to do with neighborly types of things. And since this, I know at least on my street, everybody welcomes this because we're not having these people, harassing us at dinner time or all other crazy hours.
In the summer, we have people outside, with drinking wine, and, people are walking around.
Well, that's technically not legal to go walk around.
Walking around, but they are drinking wine outside.
With all due respect, I mean, what we're focusing on here, though, we're not talking about repealing the ordinance. We're talking about adapting it to address the putting information on the door. And I think we need to first focus on this matter. I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. But I still think it comes back to issues of how people are perceived and I don't know that putting something on someone's door, I wasn't here on the original intent when you guys came with this, but I think the original intent was, we don't want people knocking, we don't want to be bothered at this point. Leaving something on someone's door, I still think isn't a violation of that. So that's where I'm coming from, but I think we need to focus on this particular ordinance as it is.
And I look at it as a constructive violation by putting something on someone's door in certain scenarios, because there's no quiet whisper always of showing up and throwing something on someone's door. It still can cause some kind of ruckus, whether the example was dogs, and it freaks out a dog, and a lot of people have dogs, and just somebody coming on their property in general will make the dog go rowdy, and
Probably will be detected by the dog before they get to see the little sign.
Dogs across the street start barking, and my dog will start barking. It doesn't even need somebody to come in up the door, right? So I agree,
See the
yeah.
sign until you've already
I agree.
got close enough to disturb the dog.
I'm not going to argue my point forever. I'm just, you guys are, we're talking nuances here. We have to look at the big picture. What's the purpose? The purpose of me having it is that so I'm not disturbed by peddlers, solicitors, and people going door to door campaigning. That's the purpose of this, and that's, I think, what the initial intent was of this. And the ordinance as drafted doesn't necessarily meet all the criteria of the intent that we initially had. And I think that the Chief Costura was here when we were initially doing this, and he was very much in favor of it. I think that I'm not out of bounds saying that he's in favor of the ordinance as it's being amended or adapted, and there's a reason for that. Whether it's things such as there's been a couple incidents lately, of I'm not gonna blast it out, but of people coming to people's doors, and there's been some scams, and there's elderly couple who was robbed. I think that would be fair to say, Chief, right? Due to people coming up to their door, and I think that there's a lot of people that you show up to the front door, whether you're just going to put something on or not. Some people might go ahead and take a look out and talk to the people, and then there's a scam.
Somebody that wants to do a scam would be stopped by the sign. They'll go, oh, no, we won't go here because.
Chief, if you may, yeah.
One of the things that I would say everybody up here, maybe Lisa's the exception, is you take a house right here on Lander Road, how far it is from the roadway, how dark it is without streetlights. If you're in Orangewood, at least you have some streetlights, you have a little bit of illumination. And I know you're still with this, but my point is, it doesn't seem quite as unsafe. If you get an older person and their property sits way back, and this person comes back there just to hang something on the door, and you're older and somebody's at your front door, and if they hang it on there and leave, it looks more like a burglar than somebody knocking on the door saying, listen, I'm running for council and I just put this on your door because I can't knock on your door. So there's all different variables here. But the important part here is that I think we're looking for the privacy.
And it's scary you have elderly residents who don't want somebody there, and then you have people who are walking on their property to hang something, and, it could freak out a lot of residents, especially the ones with the longer driveways and, where it's dark, and I think there's a safety aspect, there's try not to.
I agree with the mayor that I don't think that the last scam we had, this would have had any influence on it, except if they were on the list, which they weren't, and they called because somebody was at the door. That would have been the difference, but I believe if they wouldn't open the door right away, that person would have been there.
As a neighbor.
Well, that's after the person knocked on the door and they met. But my point is, if they don't want somebody knocking on the door and they see somebody they don't know, then they call us before they open the door, and that would be to our advantage.
Chief, I'm just wondering, and I don't quite know how to phrase this, but one of the things we brought up last time was the issue of, because the sticker, they don't see it till you get up there anyway, they're already there, so that wouldn't affect what you're saying. So I'm wondering if there's some way besides the packet, which sometimes people get and sometimes they don't, to let you know which houses there are. Is there some identifying mark that says it's a no trespassing house that could be put closer to the end of the driveway, or is there some, is there, do you see what I'm saying? Like
No
it,
trespassing sign covers all these things we're talking about. If you get a no trespassing sign, you don't have to have the do not knock.
And everybody knows what a no trespassing sign means, whereas our little sticker, they're not going to know.
that's the issue, is that you don't see it or know until, and I don't think we want to have no trespassing signs all over Orange Village, That's not, exactly.
Part where it's not going to be a welcome city as you go down the street.
Right.
There's no trespassing
Right.
at the end of their driveway, so that they don't violate the do not knock.
Yeah, I'm just, I guess I'm thinking,
This
in
stuff has all been talked about
Yeah.
prior to, and
I
Scott's very well aware.
I think a lot of houses, especially in the developments, like, it's a big orange sticker, and you can, it's visible. It jumps.
Some of these houses have a side door where you can't see from the front, what's on the door. So
There's always going to be an exception to everything, but like,
All the doors, they have no glass, there's no place to put the sticker on. We've talked about that as well. We can't solve everything.
But I think it's going, this is going too far. For the additions that we're making.
Well,
But-
and I know that,
Can't even go on the property.
but I remember your wife saying that she didn't like this ordinance, she was up here speaking about it, because of the freedom of speech. And I think we all walked up. There's been a lot of constitutional things on TV, but I haven't quite heard this one yet. But me being on my property with myself, my family, whomever I wish, I think is way more important than you being able to come onto my property and tell me something you think. If you want to tell me something you think, go on up to the public part of the property and yell it over to my house. I don't want you on my property. That's exactly my point. And what you have to say may be very important, but I won't know until you tell me.
Yeah, but if there's a little sticker that you have on the side of the doors, the window, and you don't see it, how do you?
There's a registration
The
list.
police department has a list of everybody on that do not knock. So if you're out there and you wish to solicit or speak or whatever it is that you want to do at the individual houses, we have a list ahead of time that tell you, don't even go there. Don't worry about seeing the sticker, because we have a list here that says they have a sticker, and it'll save you walking up and down the driveway. There's
In
a
fact, the
sticker.
policy of the department is to advise the first offender of that, correct? And so they can get the list the first time they run afoul of, if there were a misidentification.
Correct. We're not going to arrest the person that's didn't know the law, or if we can determine that it was a non-nefarious kiosk. We would always advise first, it'll be in our computer, so that the next time that they do it, they will be cited, because they were told, here's how you can get the information, so you don't go to these particular homes. And feel free to go to the ones that are not on this list, and, whatever happens, happens.
Does anybody else have comments? Thanks.
My only comment is
Kill.
that I think no trespassing signs are more universal and would work better. People would understand what they mean, rather than looking for a sticker on a door. Most people don't live in our community who are doing canvassing and things like that, so they're not going to know.
But they have to, if they're doing canvassing, they have to come and, why can't they get a lit? Well, they have to register, don't they, Chief?
If you're selling for profit,
They're selling, and anybody who's not selling for profit,
Or all the time.
what's that?
Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, come to my door all the time.
Oh, I have fun with them. Love them.
Yeah.
All the people watching are going to come to, all the people watching are now going to come to his house.
Trespassing.
Few of them around.
Just a more universal way of helping people understand that.
A couple weeks ago, when we first started talking about this was reintroduced. I was going outside.
Rather than legislating
Little
something
old ladies
that
get
does
out.
feel like a little overkill. And it's not really going to work all the time, I think. So, thank you.
He said, really? And we started talking. So
Be a better use. Maybe we can
they left.
about some kind of universal no trespassing signs for people in their front yards that are.
What we're doing essentially, though, that's what the sticker would be. And it's on a list. So we're gonna make people get a do not knock and then have them all go out and get.
I don't think we want no trespassing signs, all through the neighborhood.
No trespassing
I
sign?
think that,
in
I
everybody's
think
front
that says something
That is,
improper for the
right,
about
right.
the community.
I think this promotes that Orange is not a friendly community. That's.
It's not a friendly community for people who are going on property for their own gain and not for what people want.
Not even again if it's, if they have do not knock signs all over the place. I think it's not promoting that it's a friendly community.
But it's keeping solicitors away. It's not keeping neighbors away.
And when they're selling their,
It has that potential as a keeping neighbors away also.
No, it doesn't.
I disagree.
It does. It absolutely does.
I mean, think about.
You can believe that, which is fine.
I'm not saying that I believe it. I'm saying that this ordinance, there is no intent in there to keep friends and neighbors away from coming over and having wine in my front yard with me. Like, that has absolutely nothing to do with this ordinance whatsoever. The purpose of this, and we look at what it's called. Ordinance amending existing chapter 721 peddlers of the codified ordinances of Orange Village by enacting a new chapter 721 peddlers and canvassers. This has nothing to do with peddlers, canvassers, neighbors, and buddies. Like, if that's the way we're looking at this, then we're just sideways in how we're even looking at this ordinance. I mean,
Steve, can you clarify something? For people like the school football team or the band, when they're doing the cards, how does this,
Covers them too?
Yeah.
If they,
They're 18, they're not part of this. There's an exemption for them.
that's what I was asking.
Required to obtain a license if they're going to be a peddler. They will still be excluded from the do not knock.
Okay, so regardless of how this passed, they'd still be able to leave information or,
Not if this
If
passed.
this passes, they can't leave information.
When we passed this, we wanted to make sure they were able to do it.
but it sounds like if they pass this, then they won't be able to. Right, and that's an issue too. It's terrible. Kids going around the neighborhood,
Let me give you the definition of canvasser. The peddler is the person who's selling for profit. The canvasser means traveling from residence to residence within, says the city, without having a previous appointment to visit the residence or residence is visited, for the purpose of disseminating any lawful message, either with or without soliciting funds or donations.
So, running for council.
Scout cookies are okay?
What's that?
Girl Scout cookies.
They don't have to register as peddlers, but they can't knock on doors that have a do not knock.
But they already can't.
Right. Under the existing ordinance, that's right.
what, I thought if they're under 18, they're exempt.
Exempt for having to register as a solicitor or peddler.
But they
Excuse
can't
me.
go to a do not knock house.
Correct. Nobody can go to a do not knock house if that's what the sign is.
So
We can't.
right now, that Girl Scout, if we may use that example, can leave information, hey, if you want to buy cookies, call me, but cannot sell at the door.
Right.
So with this, they wouldn't be able to do any of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Any other comments? Moving on, ordinance 2020-2, ordinance amending subsection 351.03N of chapter 351, parking generally of the codified ordinances of Orange Village, and repealing certain ordinances. This is on for first read.
This is about Pinecrest. They have painted their no parking spaces with red paint. And our ordinance only prohibits parking in places where it says no parking and there's yellow paint. So this removes the color requirement, and I think it's fair to colorblind Americans too that we do this.
Somebody challenge that?
No, but my
No,
father
it's just-
said he can't write a ticket because our ordinance says, red. which
Right.
is yellow.
The ordinance says yellow, the painted lines are red,
I just wondered.
yeah.
There's some state standard on designated fire lanes? I mean, is there like a state required color or anything?
I don't think it's.
Private property.
I don't think that's the most important issue. It's private property.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules to pass this tonight. Is there a second? Thanks. You'd call roll on suspension, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Perry, Silver, Duber.
Yes, and I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2020-2.
Second.
Thanks.
There you go.
Comments?
Yes. None.
If you call roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Silver,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. Ordinance 2020-3, an ordinance amending certain sections of the codified ordinances to revise personnel policies for village employees and repealing certain ordinances. This is on for first reading. Steve?
This is just to
Mayor? Anyone?
bring our non-union employees in line with the benefits we approved through the union negotiation to treat them.
Correct. There are essentially three changes in the union contract. One which would be part of every union contract, which is the sort of inflation adjustment for longevity payment. That's 7.15. Vacation after 22 years, you're moving to 30 days maximum vacation, and then a slight increase in the uniform allowance for the police department. And the important change is that the police department secretary and part-time police officers hang on, in 2, I'm looking at A2, the chief and police lieutenants have a stipend of $1,200.
Oh, if this passes.
Let me get through this. The police department secretary and part-time officers, the version that I'm looking at doesn't have part-time officers in it. So we sent a subsequent version over that wasn't distributed at the table. All right, so you've got it. There you go. There you go. So those are, you've got the right one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Must just be mine.
What?
I don't have the right version of the ordinance.
No,
that
you
did
don't. I figured you didn't care. You'd had the new one, so I didn't give it to you. Everybody else has it.
All right, as long as everybody else,
You can
as
use
long
mine.
as everybody else has it. That's all that's important.
Look at mine.
And the revised one.
It just doesn't work. So that's the changes.
Is there an issue when you say years of service and you go 5 to 9 and then break it down 5 to 9 and 10 to 14? For example, what happens at 9.5 years? Is there something that needs to say like up to,
10.
Right.
and is that a logical assumption? I mean, I know it makes sense, but
Spelled out.
spelled out.
It is both in the operation and in the language. So, yeah, I think we're looking at B.
I'm looking at the top of the,
So it says to 9 years, so then as soon as you're above 9 years, wouldn't you get into the 2 14 years, the 10 to 14?
Yeah, I mean,
They have to hit 10 years before they're in that category.
correct.
It's from 10 to 14.
On that top tier.
Right.
Still in your 9th year of
Well,
service.
9 years, and then 9 years till you hit 10.
Those are the changes.
Is there an immediacy to suspend this, or is this through the normal?
It's changing on this, right?
Well, you'll note that I believe the first payment for uniform allowances
Already.
have in fact gone out. You'll note that in the effective date provision, it will be effective January 1st, so that folks are getting the compensation this year that's in this ordinance. You'll be ratifying the payments that have been made based on the schedule for the non-police union employees.
Well, did the non-police union employees get the higher amount?
Yeah.
Oh, they should.
So there's not,
Less than what we would have gotten in the old, so.
there's nothing that's going to change.
How could it be less? It went up.
No, because it's half?
Yeah, that's a tap, yeah.
Okay.
From a housekeeping standpoint, that if we're,
Suspend the rules and adopt it.
I'm not using up my limited,
I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
On suspension, please.
Klein,
yes,
Bilski,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Vincent,
yes.
Perry. Yes. Silver,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes, and I'll make the ordinance pass, ordinance 2020-3.
second,
Klein,
yes,
Bilski,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Perry, Silver,
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-4, an ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council Energized Community Grants and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading, and now the mayor is requesting suspension of the rules. Mayor, do you want to?
well, this will allow us to receive the money that would be the partial reimbursement for the Trane air conditioner that we approved in the motion at the beginning of the meeting.
I will make a motion to suspend.
second,
Bilski,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Perry, Silver,
Yes.
Yes, and I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2024. Thank you. Comments?
I just have a quick one, something I had sent in, and I just think it wasn't caught. On Section 2, the first word, "this," it's just a technical, I don't know if it has to read that, that the actions of this council relating to the adoption.
Just that, because this was using the NOPEC ordinance as a base, so that appears in the bolded paragraph above. We don't usually do that in our format, but we're using the NOPEC format. So it would be, Section 2, the actions of this council relating to the adoption of this
So
ordinance.
does that extra "this" make a difference?
Move the word "this."
Yeah.
Correct.
We don't have to amend it, right? Okay. If you call roll, please.
Klein? Yes. Bilski? Yes. Comet? Vincent? Perry? Yes. Silver?
Yes.
Stuber?
Yes. Committee reports, council comments by council members.
Audience comments?
Audience. Fine, audience.
Julie, you want to talk?
Julie, would you like to speak today?
Just to be on the record?
And then we'll go to Mrs. Perry.
I don't have a report.
Do you have a comment? Mr. Silver.
I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Pradeep, Stacy, and I went to a meeting at the Cuyahoga County headquarters with newly elected officials in Cuyahoga County, and they gave an overview of all the different services that the county offers, a whole laundry list of stuff. A lot of people spoke. They went through a lot of information in a short period of time. It was very interesting. I know there's a lot of resources that they do offer. I don't know if we're aware of it. I know we talked about the person that ran our website passed away recently. We're looking for someone new. I think they can help with that. That's just one of many things they can help with. If anyone wants any more info, I've got a packet here. I think I have it in email
Let
form.
me have Anna make copies of this for everybody, but they've had these meetings like for, I went once with Bob, we went to one of them, so we've heard about most of this.
Did I throw that out there?
Yeah.
They sent it to us online, so we could just forward that to Anna if that would help, and then she doesn't have to scan it and copy it.
They said they were going to email out like the full thing afterwards. I don't
Is
think I
this,
got
it was the same as this.
Okay, did they send that out? I don't remember.
They sent this out, I didn't get I thought it would be a fuller list too, but this is what they sent.
Everyone slides, I thought they said. I don't think they ever did that.
No, not that I received.
Yeah. That's all I have.
We worked very closely with Juanita Brent, Robinson and Kenny Yuko and Matt Dolan. The Chagrin River, Tinker Creek Headwater funding for 1.2 million to be included in the state capital budget.
1 million. 1.2 was the Teen Ohio Fund. Right.
And it was included, and hopefully we will know the details by May if it gets added. We also have Nature Conservancy coming to visit the site tomorrow. And hopefully we will get some funding from them if they like what they see. We've also made a list of companies that we can go talk to and see if they can give us some money from their funding to be able to add to our list of what we need.
Any other comments? All right, thank you. Mr. Bilski?
I don't have anything.
A couple things. Planning Commission met last night. A number of items on the agenda, including approval of a new house in Crystal Lake Drive in the Lakes Development, and then approvals for 2 new restaurants at Pinecrest, Saucy Brewery, and another one called Pardon? Saucy Brewery.
It's not a restaurant, it's just,
It's a tap house. which is a beer and wine and liquor bar. You can bring your own, it's an interesting concept because it's bring your own food. And they will have food delivered from all the other restaurants that are in the development, and for that matter, outside. If you want something from across the street, they'll go get it.
Have any food?
They don't have, no maybe they have a bag of Cheetos.
They don't have they don't have a kitchen. They don't have a kitchen.
They have no kitchen, so they're not preparing food on the premises.
Are there locations like that? 'Cause I thought they had pizza. at their-
The other location they have has food. In fact, I was there today at Saucy Brewery over on the west side. And, yeah, they do have full kitchen over there. But this is a concept that has been effective in other areas and successful. They're coming here. The space that they have is a fairly small space. It's situated on the first floor of what is the north end of the apartment building, and there'll be a little outside eating area or drinking area enclosed. They're cat-a-corner to the Oak and Embers restaurant. So they're across the street. That was approved. Mainly, what was approved last night was their outdoor space, because there was some discussion at a prior meeting when they came in that we felt that we needed to consider a little more circulation space around on the sidewalk for clearances. And then we also approved a new restaurant that is going to take the place of what was formerly the Kona Grill next to the Red Steakhouse. It's called The Last Page. And we approved their final development plan adjustment, which includes an outdoor patio area as well as indoor restaurant seating, and a little addition to the office building that creates a waiting area for the restaurant. It's very nicely done, and I think it'll be a great addition to the Pinecrest program.
The restaurant, or are there other locations?
No, it's new.
It's a new concept restaurant.
Going in?
Going in next to, immediately north of the Red Steakhouse, they're slotted in to the first floor of Building 6, the office building. It was Kona Grill.
Kona never came.
No, they never, it was, but that's where it was
Going to go. Oh, okay.
In fact, we approved plans for Kona.
Just like, wait, did I miss?
Kona went away before they got in,
Okay, all right.
but we had approved plans for Kona Grill.
Ask a quick question. Is anything happening with City Works?
Not yet. There's some discussion about some opportunities that they have, and they're looking at something that may be more of an entertainment potential there. But I'm not sure what they're going to. They haven't committed anything specifically. No, it's not going to be laser tag.
Thing like that.
It's not going to be laser tag. The other thing, at the last meeting, I brought up this issue of vaping and considering some kind of legislation in Orange. In the intervening time,
Pepper Pike beat
Pepper
ya.
Pike has stepped up, and they've beat us to the punch, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it as well. One of the questions that comes up really, because the schools fall into Pepper Pike, the demand for having a legal vehicle for them to enforce in the schools is important. We do have a school in Orange Village. It's one of the Christian schools that's over on Emery Road. But we do have outdoor parks, and this is mainly focused at minors. And the legislation that's been passed in Pepper Pike, and I'd like us to consider it here. My only concern is, have we seen any, and this is a question for Chief Kostura, have we seen any significant incident of vaping in the park over here? Have you noticed it at all? You haven't noticed, or you don't?
Well, no store had any complaints that I actually never seen.
So, But I still think it's important. This is a very serious problem, and I think as communities collectively start, Strongsville's also initiated some legislation on it. Wasn't that correct, Steve? And
Place, right?
and theirs is in place. Pepper Pike, I think, worked off of theirs.
Is that something that we could get a copy of to look at? 'Cause I know we did the same thing when Moreland Hills passed the cigarette age at 21, I believe. And I think that'd be great if we could see what they're doing.
I do have a copy of it here, and Anna could make it, no, that's not it.
In an email, Steve sent it a couple
Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah.
We can forward that email.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be
But I
great.
did had some hard copies here. So you're welcome to them. And I would like to, for us to consider that and introducing it, if you could distribute it, that would be great, Anna. So,
Is that something that the police department can enforce?
To enforce it?
Yeah.
Well, I think that, doesn't that basically fall like cigarettes on the vendor, whoever's selling that?
Well,
now this is beyond selling. This is possession of, the way that the ordinance is written in Pepper Pike, it's possession of both paraphernalia and products that, by a minor, for vaping. And
Being under 21.
under 18, under 18.
That's still cigarettes, they're not allowed to have cigarettes in their possession under the age of 18.
I don't know if there's a law about possession. There's a law about...
There isn't a law of regarding possession of, I mean, that's why the ordinance has been adopted in Pepper Pike. There's no state law on possession, just sales.
Yeah, it's the sale.
Tobacco, and I'm not familiar with it because it's so infrequent for us to have to deal with.
Well,
You're telling me somebody under the age of 18 is allowed to be in possession of tobacco products?
I don't,
I'm fucking ignorant, but.
I don't know, that's not the issue I was looking at.
No, but the only reason I'm saying that is I would say that it would be very similar to the exact same law if that were in fact did.
New law go through as part of the state budget, making it 21?
It's been introduced. It hasn't passed yet.
Okay.
and it really, the state law only deals with the sale of those products.
Possession.
Selling to a minor.
possession.
Not possession.
Did Brent say last meeting that the state was working on something regarding vaping specifically?
Yeah, but that's
What they're talking about.
that's what they're looking at. It's just the sale of vaping products to minors. Okay, not
In public.
the possession, use of, merely having it in your area. But,
About House Bill 46 to prohibit sale of flavored smoking, vaping devices and to study the risks.
so this takes another step that is a little more aggressive than just the sale of it. It's just, okay, where you have it. Doesn't matter where you bought it. It can be taken from you, you can, and some of the, in looking at the ordinance, there, if you will, the means for dealing with it when someone is apprehended, it is mainly to get them educated about this so that they understand better what it is that they're doing and why they shouldn't be doing it. And there is not, if you will, going to jail over it. It's not that kind of a misdemeanor.
Can you guys enforce that if we were to?
Yeah, here's my question. Steve, are you familiar with Pepper Pike's?
Sorry?
Are you familiar with Pepper Pike's ordinance? Yes.
He better be.
No, sincerely, we stopped a juvenile for excessive speed on I-271.
Yep.
That's driving through from Kentucky and it has some vaping products on their seat. Are the police officers supposed to take everything from that juvenile?
You can cite the juvenile. I need to look at the issue of confiscating. It's, because the possession is the offense. I suppose it's evidence, and you can take into custody the evidence and give them a citation. You're not supposed to arrest the juvenile. I mean, it's not an arrestable offense.
My point is, Lakeview,
Yeah.
Taxi,
Now, again, I'm not the expert on search and seizure laws, I may have changed things, but I think if you have, you would identify them as having in their possession the offensive item, the vaping tool, and you could confiscate the evidence.
Can we put that in the ordinance
Give a
that,
citation.
can we put that in the ordinance as one of the penalties is confiscation?
I think it's in there.
I don't think it needs to be a penalty.
Oh, I understand that,
No,
but,
it's not a penalty.
but so that there's no question.
No, it would be able to, you're allowed to take possession of evidence.
Of course.
So,
But
they would do that.
I mean, and I would need to know, because they're electronic.
Yep.
We're gonna be going into the evidence room, all kinds of other things, and they're electronic. They either have a battery or a charge, and put them next to something else, and it doesn't do well with the battery or charge.
I don't know the mechanics of it.
Complications for police departments. It's easy to pass the law, it's not necessarily easy for us to enforce and protect it.
Well, the Pepper Pike ordinance also addresses cigarette smoking in that as well. It includes that.
Possession of cigarettes, too.
In our next packet, will you,
Sorry. Add that.
and, will you put Pepper Pike's ordinance in there, and then everybody could be looking at it, and we can then have a chat about it? Maybe we can, if it's something we want, we can go ahead and have Steve
Give a copy to Christopher.
do it. Judd?
Yeah.
Does that work?
That works for me. I didn't expect we'd do something tonight.
No, I know, but,
Introduce the subject.
We jump.
but we can start moving forward on that.
I sent you the ordinance.
You got to be prepared to hit when the ball comes out of my hand.
Got the glove.
Anything else, Mr. Klein?
That is all.
Thank you. Mr. Vincent?
Feel bad for
I would like to wish a happy Black History Month to everybody. I would like to thank Steve and Laura for me, it was Civics 102, since it was the second meeting, and encourage anybody, if they ever need a refresher course, he's the person to go to. We had a little issue with garbage pickup last week, and I just wanted to put it out there because there's some questions that came up where the company did not pick up the recycling side of it I guess something happened. And I know Brent, thank you, answered one of the residents' questions about what do we do. One thing I would like to see, if it's possible, if this ever happens again, is the reverse 911 to go out.
All the time.
Yeah, well, just to let people know that they should either leave it out for the next day, or it's not going to be picked up for a week, because a lot of us don't get home till very late at night, and we weren't going to leave the garbage just sitting out just in case. So
I just want to speak to that real quick, because I had conversations with Bob, and I know Anna was talking about it, and there was like a little loop. The only problem that, and this happens all the time, that they don't pick up stuff, and Bob is fantastic. The problem you have sometimes with the reverse 911, which is what I know that they were trying to do, is that they were notified at night, late at night, that this had happened by the time that they got a response from Kimball as to what was going on and all that. And then the next morning, early in the morning, they sent an email saying the truck is out there right now picking stuff up. So,
7 a.m.
yeah, so that was kind of, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was one of the problems of sending out a reverse 911, is that the truck was already out there halfway through at that point.
We assess every time it's different. This happened, there was a miscommunication on Kimball's side. Most of the time, they might miss a couple here or there, and it's always a question whether somebody had it out in time or not. So, if the opportunity was there, and we planned on it, but after the truck was already out. So it's been out, this is the trash, should be calling the town hall. And we communicate with Kimball all the time about, this is what you missed. We send out a complaint form, and normally they come in and do that, take care of it.
It's be about twice a month, and they always, somebody takes care of it all the time.
I have a question about that too, though. If there was to be a reverse 911, does it blast the whole Orange Village, or can you, like, let's say it was just Orange Hill, is there a...
Geographic.
You can do geographic. Okay, I was just curious. All right, thank you for that. I also wanted to piggyback a little off what Brent said, because there was some information too that I think would be good for everybody to know. They did announce the HHS levy that's going to be on the ballot, which is a replacement levy on the property tax. It is 4.7 mils, which is about $41 a year for a $100,000 home. And they did ask us to let people know that this is going on, and if there are questions, they have a whole resource for answering that. Obviously, HHS affects our seniors, all our seniors, home support services, foster care, all of that kind of thing. So it's an important replacement levy. They do have this thing also called the Scam Squad, and I picked up a bunch of the cards, so we'll leave them here if anybody wants to pick them up, especially with what's happening all over the place. They have a number, 216-443-SCAM, that you can call anytime if you have a question, if you are getting a phone call from your grandchild in Europe, send money immediately, which a lot of them do. You can call them directly, and if we could get that information out.
Newsletter before, we can do it again.
Let's do it, yeah. I mean, I think it's a great, so I'll leave these here too. And they have a bike and scooter program that they said they may be moving into the suburbs, so I thought with our trails, that might be an interesting thing too. Where I think they were talking about, where companies put scooters and the electric scooters, and you can rent them.
Put on our trail.
Well, they're not the electric ones, but yeah,
They are, yeah.
so they're having that for the county, and they're looking into developing that out into the suburbs. They also have a rooftop solar program, and it happens that we have a meeting here at Orange Village Hall on the 13th, if anyone's interested.
Everybody will definitely commit to going, because I have another meeting to go to that night, and I think we should have Judd will commit.
So I'm going to give him this, and there you go. So,
Free punch.
yeah, there you go.
Host, Judd, you're going to
The host?
you're going to be the host.
Oh, so I serve.
Work it out with you.
Already sent it to
Oranges. I did, on this program Next Door, a lot of people were asking about restaurants closing at Pinecrest or what's going on, and I just kind of put out there a feeler, because some people were complaining, well, we really need some new stuff in there. We need some new local things. So I just said, what are
thing is new.
What are people thinking? I just put that out there, and I did get a range of interesting comments, and some of them were interesting because some of the restaurants they were wanting to have in there are restaurants that we're having in there. So,
Do this.
about, on Nextdoor, a couple of the things that came up that I just thought was interesting that I thought I'd share is a hardware store, since Credo isn't there anymore, a local hardware store. Yeah,
It's too expensive, the rent there for a hardware.
a hardware store. And
Restoration hardware.
somebody suggested a Baker Square, and
Loud.
with the talk of some of the larger stores at Beechwood Place closing, they were suggesting maybe a Saks or a Nordstrom or something like that there. So I'm just sharing that that's what some of our community residents were asking about. I also went to the last two school board meetings, and I volunteered to be the tie when Ron passed away. That was an important thing I thought that he brought to this, and I asked about being the tie to the Orange schools. And so I did attend the last two school board meetings, and just a couple quick little notes. They had their organizational meeting as well. Beth Wilson-Fish will be the president again, and Becca Boyle, our own Orange Village resident, will be the vice president of the board. Melanie Weltman was assigned to the Tax Incentive Review Council, which I know didn't meet last year, but if they meet, she's going to be the person in charge of that. The high school is looking at a new front of the building at the high school that would create a kind of a double buzzer system. Right now, it's very open that people can, once they get buzzed in, they pretty much have free access to the school. So they're looking at a couple different types of fronts that would change the layout of the beginning. Yeah, and they have a couple different things they're still looking at, but it would give them two things they're looking for. One, a double buzz-in system, and two, a comfortable waiting area that is right near the guidance office that would keep them away from the rest of the school until they get buzzed in that second area. They also passed a resolution opposing the State of Ohio Ed Choice Scholarship. It's a voucher program, which I'm sure you've been reading about, thanks to Julie. And they have also initiated a writing center at the high school, which is a wonderful, wonderful program where students can come in and get writing expertise on papers and essays and just getting ready for colleges. And they've been recognized as a legacy school as an instructional leader in English and language arts, and it's partially due to something like that. They did have a new software conversion program. I know we're talking about that too, and it's working well. And the last thing is, as I said, I wanted to do a slice of orange, a nice little positive segment. 5 of our 9 mock trial teams have been invited to the regional competition, which is an extraordinary number. So they compete, and we do have orange kids that are part of that program. So congratulations to them, and good luck at the regionals this Friday. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, wait, hold on.
You get seconds?
Can I get seconds?
Yes, yeah.
Just an announcement, just for those. I've will be inducted into the Beechwood Gallery of Success in April of this year. And I want to thank Mayor Mulcahy for her support of my application to it.
Let us know what it is. We're gonna all go there and.
I'll come with, yeah, absolutely.
Can you help them?
Congratulations.
We will have a piece of legislation next week, and we will ask to suspend the rules. This is to appoint Rick Conti as our backup building inspector, because we have a week in March where our building commissioner and our alternate building commissioner are not going to be available. So for 1 week, he's going to come in. He used to be our building commissioner. He's going to come back. So we need to have an ordinance authorizing that.
Just a motion.
It's going to be a motion.
Just a motion.
Just a motion, okay. And the Tax Incentive Review Council that was just referenced by somebody?
She mentioned it for school.
Oh, yeah. Currently, Pradeep and Brent have been our representatives, but since they've become on council, they're no longer eligible to be on the Tax Incentive Council. So I have one person who has agreed, and I have an inquiry out to another person who's going to let me know, hopefully before next week. So either next week or next month, I'll be asking you to confirm 2 new people for the Tax Incentive Review Council. Next week, well, we've set up a schedule for the council departmental tours, and so we'd like to invite all the council people, especially the new ones, but everyone's welcome. Just remember, if you're all there, you can't talk village business, but we can listen to our department heads as they tell us about their departments. And we're going to start next week on February 12th at 6:30. We'll meet next door at the building department. We're going to do the building department and the service department next Wednesday at 6:30. And then on March 11th, the second...
PM, right?
6:30 PM, please meet at the building department next door. We're going to learn about the building department and the service department, and then be here for the 7:30 meeting. And then on March 11th at 6:30, we're going to meet in the police department and do the police department and the fire department. Well, we're going to meet in the vestibule, and then they'll let us into the police department. If you want any extra tutorial or insight or spend more time on the financial piece, I'm always willing and available, and Dana is also willing and available if anyone has questions or wants a little catch-up session or anything. We're available to help anytime, not just next week or the week after, anytime. But I think the next 2 tours will be interesting. Not only will new people learn some things about operations, but we'll all see what their, what things are on their mind that they're wishing for.
Anna, will you send out reminders the day before for both of those?
That with
You need a reminder to send out the reminder?
No, I haven't. It's not on me.
Okay, and then on a very big topic, we promised the Orangewood people that we would have them in to talk about putting the bike trail on Orangewood. And we're at the position where we can't fine tune it any more than it is because the contract is still ongoing. So what I need you to think about is before we ask the Orangewood people to come in and tell us what they want or don't want, this board has to be prepared to be willing to spend $400,000 of our own money in order to do it. We have the money, we're going into this year in the 406 with $600,000. This will not keep us from any other projects that we want to do. It won't compromise anything. I mean, if Bob needs to put a project off to next year, he will, but we don't have that many projects that we're doing this year that, in other words, we have the money if you want to do it. It could be less than that. If the contingency and all those line items in the contract work to our favor, we won't have to spend $400,000, but that's pretty much the worst case, and I think you should make decisions based on the worst case. So, I mean, I don't know that I need official motion or something, but I need official direction from you.
Well, I guess, so my question is, first of all, are we talking about trails for a second with that? This kind of, what are they doing? Are they doing anything now?
No, in March, they'll start up again.
I mean, I feel like last winter, they were doing it all winter, and it was way snowier than this year, and there's absolutely, the weather's, I feel like, has been fantastic to build the trail.
Based on the problems that we had last winter when they were doing it.
Yeah, we did.
That's why we shut them down. Obviously, it's not ideal. They had the concrete going on, so there were some issues there, so.
Okay, I was just curious because they had like 2 crews last year during the winter. They were cruising and
Storm sewer work and other
they were
things.
doing a lot of things, but they
I
were,
was gonna correct you on that, because a good portion of the work, they were doing storm sewer work, which didn't involve the concrete pouring side of things.
portion of the winter, they,
A portion of
okay.
it, but they wrapped.
And I know we didn't want them to necessarily, but I thought that we didn't have to say in that.
Not a good practice.
What's next on the agenda for the trails?
Sorry, so this is all related into this. So what is the time frame then? When are they?
They're going to start again in March.
We're planning on starting in March. We haven't set a pre-con meeting yet, or. Okay.
And then how long do we think it's going to take? I'm just,
For a good portion into 2020.
okay, so,
We still have, when we added the alternates, you know, they're still working on base bid. The base bid is not complete. To finish the base bid is Harvard Road from Orangewood down to Lander, and then Lander up to Orangewood Drive. Then there was another portion or two off of Miles Road.
it's are a lot of miles.
And the alternates goes, you know, Brainerd all the way up to Waterford Courts.
Are they going to do the base bid part of miles before they do the alternates on miles? Because that seems silly to me.
Their plan is to come in, finish Harvard, then finish Lander, and then go down and work the whole Miles run. Yes, it doesn't make sense to.
Brainerd, don't forget Brainerd.
Brainerd to Waterford Court. Well, that's an alternate. That was an original base.
You said they're going to do all the miles, you mean from Woodcrest all the way to Brainerd?
Okay, so they're going to do that whole strip. They're not going to do the one portion and then come back and do the alternates after. Okay.
That's the plan, and I'll have confirmation when we have the progress or, you know, pre-con meeting again for this year.
So then tying this in, does it make, I mean, do we know that we're going to be within the budget of everything with doing all that stuff and any,
Everything that we're doing, the base bids and the alternates will fit within the 5 million.
with any landscaping, any contingent, we have plenty of contingencies built in?
But we're working on it. Brian was only comfortable predicting that we'll have 100,000 left over. It could be 200.
Could it be less?
No, he was pretty comfortable that we'd have at least 100.
I'm just wondering if we should get into that a little bit and see where we are dollar-wise.
That's where we're at.
We know where we are dollar-wise. Projecting what we spent on the contingency so far and having so much more out there, specifically Miles Road, we know the area between Beacon Hill and West Orange Hill is going to be costly. We're trying to work that out now because the way the embankment is, we have areas that we need retaining walls and stuff. They haven't excavated there. So contingency dollars start getting spent when you have to do embankment, over-excavate, use things with the storm.
Is kind of planned.
What Brian did was take the whole contingency and go worst-case scenario, we have 0 contingency left.
He said worst case, we'd have 100 left.
Well, but based on the 400 was, he's hopeful that we'll have 100, Worst case scenario is we're gonna go ahead and say the contingency's washed out.
And then Orangewood would be 400.
Well, Orangewood is 500.
500, so that's taking the 100 of our contingency and using it towards Orangewood.
I have a question. When we talked about this last year and in the past, I thought we were going to evaluate the alternatives based upon what was left. It would seem to me that Orangewood affects a lot more homes than Brainerd to Waterford Court if we have to choose.
Have already been,
No, that was always part of the, like, the initial, while it does affect it, but it affects it differently because that's going through the development as opposed to, there is trails on both sides of Orangewood now that people will be able to get onto the trail and go.
But I thought we were going to evaluate the alternatives based upon what was left,
eliminated, was the Hiram Trail piece,
right?
the south side of Harvard between Brainerd and Cooper's Hawk, and Orange Place, yeah. And
Emory Road going down to Phase
we rode down to Phase 7, yeah, so we did have a lot of other alternatives that we've gone through and eliminated, and then these were the ones we definitely committed to. And if we're gonna do Orangewood, we'd like to add it on to this contract at their unit price and get it done this year. We'll have to roll our notes over one more year, but that's okay.
There was discussion with Orange Hill that it would go through Orange Hill,
We're not doing that.
so it's definitely going all straight up miles.
Yeah, that's gonna go all the way down miles between Lander and Brainerd. Well,
Makes way more sense.
okay, so
So what's your question then?
okay, my recommendation is that council my recommendation is that we do Orangewood. But before we can say we're going to do Orangewood, we said we would hear from them. We'd have them all come in
Right.
and tell us. But there's no point to do that. And my recommendation is that we have the money, that we should commit and be prepared to spend $400,000 more if the Orangewood Town Hall meeting persuades us that we should do Orangewood. I think we should. So I'm asking council to think about that, maybe next week, tell me for sure, because if you are, then we have to get the plan started, we have to start meeting with the
At least me
residents.
personally, I can't commit to that without hearing the residents who it affects, and so I can't say that,
There's no
yeah,
point to have them come if we're not prepared to spend the money.
well, they might, whatever they say might influence me as to whether or not we should spend the money, I guess is we have the money. So whether or not we should spend the money, I don't live in Orangewood, so it shouldn't be my opinion, it should be Orangewood residents.
If you're prepared to spend our $400,000, then we should have them come in, and then we can decide whether you want to spend it that way or not.
So that money wouldn't be locked into that. I mean, it's just us saying it's,
We have it, I don't want to
Well, then
have.
I just don't know what you're asking for. You're asking.
I'm asking you to search your souls and decide, if the Orangewood people overwhelmingly want it, they come in here, they persuade you that we want it, and we're going to do it, that you then won't say, oh, no, but I'm not going to spend the money, because there's no point to go through that exercise. Be prepared to say, yes, I will spend the $400,000 out of our money if they persuade us to do it. So I sort of want to know if you're willing to do it, if they persuade us to do it. There's no point having them come in if you're going to say, okay, but we're not going to spend the money, so.
When I was running for council, a lot of the people.
Oh, a lot do.
The exception being those on Orangewood whose properties are affected. But we know from the survey, when we did that 5, 6 years ago, that they still 2/3, I think, wanted it even if it affected their property, so, right.
They weren't told in Orangewood that their property was one of the ones that
Correct.
would be.
Oh, I know that my
I just-
property will be affected by it. I know that my property would be one of the properties that would be affected by it, and as long as we navigate it properly, it's fine, you know.
You will be affected, so are you feeling conflicted about making the decision?
No, no.
does the 500,000 amount that you came up with include what it would take to assuage people whose properties are affected, like landscaping and all that other kind of stuff? So it could,
I have a generous budget in there for replacing anything that's in the right-of-way.
But there's
We'll do
probably a
that.
lot of stuff in the right of way. So are we, I just want to, I guess that brings up a good point. Are
Deal
we
with my wife, but that's okay.
the money then?
mean,
Asking,
Yes,
is
we
there,
have
so-
it. We have it.
no, I'm asking, is that something that is going to be proposed, that, hey, this is $400 or $500,000 project, but
We didn't do that for the rest.
there are some things that we,
Yeah, some things we came up with, but
But I don't think because of the setbacks of most of those other properties, there was probably less stuff in the way versus these.
Well, if you want to be kind.
I'm just asking.
But if you want to do that and you want to assure that, then let's say, plan on 500,000. But I'm asking, all I'm asking is, I'm saying I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good idea. I think the vast majority of people want it, but we promised we would listen to them. But I'm just saying, I would like to know if you're willing to
The thing is,
commit.
we have to be prepared to say yes if.
Yeah,
that-
exactly. There's no point to have them come in if you're not prepared to say yes.
I just want to make sure that the amount takes that into consideration, too.
Plan 500 instead of 400. What, Bob?
On a note that Brandon was talking about stuff in the right of way, the one significant thing that myself and the engineers talked about is this particular development doing that, okay? So everything's underground, all the utilities are underground, you've got to work around things, we're trying to keep everything in the right of way. But what we'll experience up in Orangewood, which we haven't experienced everywhere else, is a number of sprinkler systems. Is the village going to be spending money on people that put sprinkler systems within the right of way, that shouldn't be within the right of way, that now are going to need new sprinkler heads because they need fans, they can't be broadcast across sidewalks and stuff like that. So that's part of the factor that when it goes in there, it certainly changes based on width, whether it's going to be 5 foot or 6 foot. That number we're using right now is based on a 5 foot width. We go 6 foot width, you can take that number and start driving it up. So there are factors in there.
And 5 feet would be consistent with what's in Orange Hill and Orange Tree, right?
With
Okay.
what we would have in all our other developments. So when you go in Orange Hill, Orangewood, or I'm sorry, Orange Tree, and then, you know, what you'll see in Waterford, Oxford, Cambridge, stuff like that, those legs, standard 5 foot.
I think that I know what you're asking for, and I think that there's probably support Lisa.
I've been wanting to say that when I first heard about this, and I've not made any decisions, but what doesn't feel like it's resting right with me is that when we started talking about possibly doing Orangewood, it was because we had an excess amount of money in the $5 million, and we could use it in this way. But I'm surprised that we would spend so much of our infrastructure money on this project compared to what seems like a very small percentage of the amount that's going to cost that is actually extra. I know it's just estimates, and they're estimating high for, you know, what we might be having back and high for what we might have to pay out of the infrastructure levy conservatively, but it doesn't feel, it's something I would like to delve more into. Just because we have the money in the infrastructure doesn't mean that there's not some other priority that's still waiting to be done for the infrastructure levy fund.
I'll advocate for it, because I know that I've had people in Orangewood tell me for decades that they want it, so it's now or never.
When do we have to make a decision on Orangewood?
I don't think you can make the decision soon because we have to organize the town hall meeting.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
And then you have to engineer it.
Well, maybe we could do it next month in March. I think if we tell him by May, right?
Well, I think it's something we need to really engage with the engineer and
I'll have to
talk
ask
with
him
the
that question.
contractor, because if we have bad weather and all of a sudden, they're gonna be required to do the base bid and the alternates. If all of a sudden we have a bad summer, it's very possible we might not see it till 2021.
Okay.
So,
There's no problem with that. It's just, now is the time. We're doing trails. Now is the time.
I agree. Lisa brings up a pretty valid point. I'm all in favor of it, but that's a pretty valid point.
Which?
It seemed like a no-brainer when we had
This
the
all
money.
came up because I think the discussion was at least 200,000 or 300,000 extra, and now it's, and we would have to chip in like maybe 100, but now we're talking possibly $500,000. That's
So confused, because I know I brought up at a number of council meetings about the decisions about the alternates. These were administrative decisions as far as to go ahead with those, because
We made it together, didn't we?
there was there was a lot of.
I mean, we never had that. I thought we were going to have an accurate count of what all the base items were. Here was what was left, and I thought we were going to pick and choose as far as what of the alternates we were going to select based upon what was remaining in the $5 million.
I think we did that.
Council accepted the base bid and the alternates.
Right, I understand.
So
But I thought we were going
It's
to,
the only alternate
For those that were
is not
bid at the
getting
time.
performed is gonna be a not-performed is Hiram Trail. And
all
then
the
the additional
alternates are
items were
within
talked
budget.
about extending that area on Miles Road to make it uniform. So we had Woodcrest all the way down because we had.
We added.
Talk about bits and pieces going into Orange Hill where they were gonna come up Beacon Hill and around. And then there was an area, because the original concept was that you could walk east and cross over Harper, and Stonebrook you can walk down and use the crosswalk and cross down by Miles and work up from the villas. So there was a little wedge area between Brainerd and the Village of Orange. Well, then it didn't make sense, so the determination along there was spent, was decided on, and that's what they would start spending. I think, worst case scenario,
I don't-
is projecting that
maybe the
we're
following
using
month.
all the contingency
Maybe the following
dollars.
month.
We're, right now, about $100,000 of the contingency out of $300,000 for over excavation in certain areas and, base, build up and stuff like that. So, again, I just stress that he's using worst case scenario. Is the engineer hopeful there's gonna be 200,000? Absolutely. But he can't tell you that, yeah, we're gonna have 200,000 and at the end, we have zero. So he's taking worst case.
and it makes sense to eliminate the Hiram to Lander portion, that makes sense. But it seems to me, if we're looking for extra dollars, that section from Brainerd to Waterford Court is not going to be a very used section, and those dollars would be.
There is some thought behind that we had as well, which was, how can we set up our trails so that, part of this is for future connectivity to everything. So if you're up to Woodford, then you're at that spot for Woodmere, and going the other way up Miles, you're at the spot for Moreland Hills. So, part of this is to have community by community connection, because we do like our neighbors and we want to be friendly. But that was part of the thought
But,
behind it.
and I respect that, but if we don't want to allocate the dollars for a whole large neighborhood, though, seems to me those dollars would be better used towards 218 homes than 20 or 30 homes from Brainerd to Waterford. And, I mean, who knows when Woodmere is going to have the funds to do anything like that? I mean, we're talking about doing this now, and now's the time to do it. Orangewood's a higher priority if council is not willing to spend the money to do it.
How much that leg is, but that won't be 500,000.
Yeah, how much was
Ken?
that? How much was that like?
I
Any idea?
I have to take a look at it, but I know it's been discussed through a number of people, members. One of the main focuses was main roads where we have 35 mile an hour, so it's safer to put it on area Waterford to Brainerd, to that intersection, on an area where there's no curbs, people walking on the edge of the road in ditches, stuff like that, as opposed to development that has stop signs periodically through 25 miles an hour. I think it was always based to have a uniform path throughout the village on our main roads, where people, quite frankly, were afraid to walk on the side of the road, push, strollers, or let their kids ride bikes. So,
Remember that it is also more homes than you're counting, in that it's not just Waterford, but it's the houses that lead up to Waterford, and then
Right,
it's
I
the
understand.
houses on the other side of the street that go up to that, spot as well.
But if it's a choice of not doing a neighborhood that's been asking for these for decades,
So those people. Waterford and Brainerd people are asking too, but no, Orangewood, it's been decades.
Orangewood wasn't part of the initial, I mean, they weren't even an alternate.
Never.
I mean, I think it's, I don't know, I'd be repeating myself.
We'll find out, but I don't think that one leg is going to be enough to cover it. So
but if it helps, if it knocks it down to 250 extra or something that we need, that's.
people along Brainerd and Waterford know it's coming. I don't want to be the one to tell them it's
How
not.
much more costly would it be if we wait to do these things that are already planned and then find out what the cost is. You said you wanted to get it in this,
We might lose the contractor at that point, then we have the timing of the rolling over of the notes. It's better for us to know while the contractor's still here, because if we start with a new contractor, it might be much more per unit cost.
You wouldn't know until it goes to bid.
Well, there's another aspect of this that could be considered, because there's an HOA in Orangewood, and they have funds to do various things, but perhaps there's a contribution to it.
landscape replacement?
Yeah.
sprinklers.
Sprinklers, landscape. Well, if it helps them to get the,
What they want.
what they want and get people lined up who would be reluctant to it because of those situations. That gives them, we don't have to invest that much, the HOA doesn't have to invest that much to help incentivize the project going forward if the village is willing to spend the big money to make it happen.
Well, I am, but I need council to tell me.
Let's,
We're not making a decision.
we should maybe do the town hall in like April. Good with that?
You want to do it before a council meeting in April?
Do it the second week, not the first week of April.
There's the first night of Passover, so there's probably not going to be a meeting.
I was actually thinking, should we do it on a non-council night? I assume there's gonna be a lot of people show up, and I don't know if we're gonna want to have like a, this is our time that we're stopping that night.
I will not be here. I'm pretty sure I'm out the first.
Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a date, but maybe we do sometime.
If we want to decide now, I can put it in the newsletter before it goes to print. If you don't want to decide now, which is okay,
I don't want to decide now.
okay.
We can decide next week. People can think about it, and we'll look at calendars, and everybody be prepared to figure out a date in April.
That's
Cool.
all I have.
I don't really have it. I get phone calls every day about this Pepper Pike thing from some place in Fargo, which is annoying, so I don't.
Well, I've been-
Is that the who's the one who's setting up the,
Manny Knapp.
It-
The opposition?
who's setting up the thing where I'm getting,
That's the developer. I know a lot of people.
developer is?
Yes, like surveys and things.
Is I keep
Yes.
getting from that's the developer who's
You're
doing-
getting surveys?
I get phone calls all the time from
Calling everybody in the area.
saying, do you live in Pepper Pike? What do you feel about the, and I say, take my number off your list, and then somebody else calls and they go, oh, well, it's a new survey, so.
Who's
What do
Fargo?
they survey?
No, I can do
Who's Fargo?
Developers.
Huh?
Who's Fargo?
For the Pepper Pike
Axiom.
Axiom.
Oh, someone's calling you from
Somebody's calling me from Fargo. Anyways, all right.
company or something.
I don't have any comments.
What's the? Second. I second it.
You go roll. I guess we don't even,
Something on this.
I'll bookend it.
we already did it.
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Comet,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Are you gonna be
Silver.
here tomorrow?
Yes.
No.